Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I wanted to talk a little bit today about an open letter to Prince Harry that was written to him, and I found the article very on point, very appropriate for the time and everything that is going on. It really sums up the things that I am feeling, and I'm sure the things that you are feeling about everything that we see happening with Prince Harry out into the media and just talking about his family and just throwing people under the bus. It's like just throwing them under the bus, it's like, and trying to make his own celebrity brighter and bigger and just making himself more relevant, just as he keeps throwing people under the bus. It was like throwing them under the bus. It's like, because I don't care about you. Like, I don't care about nobody. I got stuff to do because my wife done sent me out here and I got to get to work. I got to start making a difference. I got to show her that I can become something besides a man with a title. Because we know that title is only really meaningful if he is in the UK. But because he's not in the UK and he's got to make his own way now, he desperate. He's like trying to get in front of all the cameras now. Before, he was like giving, saying that he had issues being in front of cameras and the clicks, and, it takes him back to the moment and, everything with his mom. But he's ready to get himself in front of a camera now. And he'll even go to therapy in front of a camera now for the whole world to see. Isn't it just amazing how you can be so one way about something, and then the minute your livelihood start to depend on it, you can like switch just like that? Like, oh, yeah, I was feeling that way at one time. Now let me just change my tune because I got my wife on my back over here. This is just like, I got to do something. I got to get in front of the people. I got to start making a brand. I got to start being something more important in America because my value is not as much as I would like for it to be. And he's out there and he's doing what he's got to do. He's like, he got to make it happen. It's got to work. This is what his marriage depends on. Because think about it like this. This man has a fairly decent amount of money that was left to him from his mom when she passed. Living off of that in a quiet, simple life, just doing what you do, you're sitting comfortably. You're doing pretty well for yourselves. But because where they are trying to go with the masses and trying to build up this heightened uber celebrity profile requires so much more money so that they can be more essentially valued amongst all the other celebrities within their realm, that they've got to go out and try to get this branding of mental health and celebrity, the go-to person for something. They have to do this. And Harry essentially is the front man for all of this. And this is what he is doing. And we know that he is being pushed out to the front of all of this because it's his wife's doing. This is not something that Harry is doing on his own. We know this. And I go back to a video that I saw not too long ago. It was actually Harry when he did his apprenticeship, he did his gap year when he, before he went into the army. He had this time in his life where he was really cutting up. He was causing problems with the press. There were shots of him in, gossip papers about his, short temper and anger. And like, he was a real problem for the royal family at the time. And this was before he was to go into the military, and they had questioned at the time, what's going to become of Harry, because they knew at that point that he was on the road to destruction because of losing his mother and the press and the not knowing where he fit in as the spare and always being second fiddle to his brother who was being prepped and primed for, you know, to be the king. Well, he felt left out. He felt like he didn't have a belonging. So Harry essentially was showing, you know, who he was at this time prior to going into the military. And I remember hearing from this documentary, they were saying, well, we hope that Harry gets the help that he needs. They were really looking forward to him going into the military so that it would help give him the discipline that he needed to show that, you know, his life was essentially moving into that of adulthood now. And he had to really, you know, find his way. What was he going to do? And, you know, being in college and doing all of that was good. He had trouble with his grades. He had help from the teachers. You know, academics just wasn't the thing for him. He loved the military, and this was something that they had hoped, the royal family, meaning they had hoped, would be that thing that would guide and mold him into a good man that would make the family proud. So we know that Harry went off to join the military. He did that for 10 years from what was said about him by his colleagues and everyone. He did a great job as a soldier. He was very good. He became a well-rounded man, you know, choosing to go to war and all of these things. It was all good for him. But then essentially things changed when he left the military and wanted to go off and find his way now after serving in the military. Well, things just didn't stick for him. He didn't really become that different Harry. Now, he did become a different Harry in that he had learned a lot and grew from being in the military. But the things that were still the underlying issues that he was suffering from that had caused him to really lash out and to be this problem child essentially started to resurface after he left the military. And what happened then? Well, we know the timing was just right for the woman that would soon be his wife. And she has essentially come in and taken over, and now she's doing the molding. You know, she's molding the Harry at this point now. And he has become her mouthpiece. And he is out there and he is branding and working up that mental health as something that he's taking ownership of, full ownership now of this mental health that he is going to use as his specialty, what he is going to brand himself behind this movement of the stigma behind mental health. And if you saw my other video, you know, he had thanked Catherine and his brother already from the 2017 initiative Heads Together that they had started to combat the stigma of mental health. This was already done before. And we know that Harry has a passion for that. We saw that when he did the, you know, engagements with his sister-in-law and his brother. And he's essentially trying to rebrand that whole narrative, that whole thing that he had going back then with the mental health. And like I said, he just kicking them to the curb. He just like, I done forgot about that. We ain't gonna remember that time because I don't want to have to thank nobody but my wife for helping me get to where I am now mentally. So he's just like restructuring, rebranding. He's just gonna like smack that out the way. Ain't gonna have nothing more to do with it. Speaking of smacks, I've gotten some emails from people that just love my videos, but they've been startled a few times by my smackdowns that I give, you know, when I give my smackdown. So I'm not sure how to move forward because I don't want to be scaring people when when they hear a smack, but I think it really helps to get my point across in a way that is very impactful. So not so sure if that's going to be something I'm going to continue to do, or perhaps I could put a disclaimer like at the beginning of my video, like watch out. There's going to be a smack in this one. So I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I certainly don't want to cause distress to people from that. So that's something for me to think about. And perhaps you can let me know what I should do about it. I don't know. For me, it's very important to really address an issue that needs to be addressed when you know someone is behaving badly. And, you know, people who put Harry on this pedestal and want to hear him speak badly about his family, considering, you know, the privilege that he has, they really are just fueling his bratism. They're just fueling his entitlement behavior. I know it's not a word, bratism, but I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? It's just like I'm already a brat, and then y'all fueling me to make me more of a brat and to say, yeah, I'm being a brat and I'm going to still be a brat because y'all helping me be a brat. It's just, it's so unbelievably just wrong that you can have a platform and have access to millions of people with the snap of a finger just because of who your mama was or what family you were born into. And don't be fooled that some people, they need to be put in their place. And I don't care how much power you may feel that they have. But people that have befriended Prince Harry and his wife, they cannot go on just like they don't know what's happening and let this couple just spew their hate for their families and do what they do. You know, and this was one thing that I saw that Oprah Winfrey had talked about. It's important for people to be heard and to have their stories told. And the one thing I want to say, well, isn't it important then that Mr. Markle, Thomas Markle, be able to have his story told, especially when he is being talked about so negatively in the media, and he is being silenced essentially by Oprah. I mean, she says that it's important for people to feel validated and to feel like they have a voice and to be heard and to speak about the things that have happened to them. And we know that she had given a big platform to Harry and his wife. Why can Mr. Markle not have the same amount of respect given to him to be able to tell his story? Because believe me, he has a story too. And it's not just a one-sided story gets to have its side told, and the other voices to the same story have to be silent, because there's more than one side to a story. And I think in order to properly tell a story, you need to hear all sides of a story. And I'm just going to leave that at that. Okay, so this open letter is really good. So this was a letter that was written to Prince Harry, and it headlines with, "What you have done, sir, is quite frankly despicable. An open letter to Prince Harry. Sir, I am an ordinary citizen of the United Kingdom, a loyal, patriotic subject of Her Majesty, the Queen of England. In the circumstances, it is entirely appropriate, with the utmost respect to you, that your attention is not only once again drawn to the unwelcome recent sequence of events largely precipitated by you and your wife, but also to the ensuing fallout that this has caused. Both you and your wife have opted to very publicly level wholly unsubstantiated accusations of racism, indifference, and emotional trauma at thus far unnamed members of the royal family. Your family, sir." And I just want to take that piece right there, because that really speaks volumes to the thing that Harry is actually promoting on his platform of mental health. He is causing trauma and emotional distress to people at the very moment that he's trying to give a voice to it. And it is so hypocritical and wrong for anyone to give justification to what Harry is doing, while at the same time overlooking the trauma and distress that he is causing amongst its own family. How can you do this with a straight face and just and not address it? It's like you talking about someone going out causing fires, you know, and all you're talking about is the fire, but you're not talking about the person that is causing all of the fires. But you're trying to bring attention to the fires that are being caught, that the fires that are actually happening at different houses. But you're going to just overlook the person that's causing the fires to happen? This is like, we're just talking about the fires. Yeah, isn't that fire over there at that house? Isn't that just terrible? That house over there is on fire. And look, that house is on fire. And wow, there's a fire over there. And that's all you doing. You just talking about the different fires. Yeah, that's terrible. Let's bring attention to all these fires happening. But you're not talking about, okay, wait a minute, but you causing the fires, right? So what sense does that even make, to be talking about the fires, but you're not talking about the person who is causing the fires? You're like completely going to not address it. That's what's happening here. And, you know, it's like they want to bring attention to something and that just bring attention to it, but overlook how Harry himself at that very moment of speaking, it is causing really bad problems for other people and a country. And it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. So, yeah. So while you both feel the need to engage in the media that you profess to loathe in this vendetta, I cannot understand, nor can many millions of our fellow countrymen. The British public at large were absolutely thrilled that you had found someone with whom you clearly share such a unique bond. Oh, it's unique, all right. Your future wife was welcomed with open arms, lining the streets of Windsor to show their joy and at your happiness on your special day. The weather was similarly glorious to add to the genuine mood of celebration for you and your wife. Like, even the weather was happy that day, Mr. Windsor. Okay, it's like everything was coming together. The birds were singing, the cats and dogs are getting along, and racism disappeared, and everybody came out to see Prince Harry get married to a woman, we might add, who is still causing problems to this day. But I digress. In the ensuing years since that wonderful day at St. George's Chapel, your popularity in this country has plummeted with the onset of widespread anger and disgust, increasing in intensity each time you decide to air dirty laundry in public. This is sadly an inescapable fact, and one in which I personally take absolutely no pleasure in pointing out. Your family is incredibly significant ingredient in the glue that binds us all together. And for you to unilaterally attack and defame their integrity is quite frankly despicable. You have given up everything you have known up to this point in seeking a new life in the United States of America. I could elaborate further on the grossly ill-advised course you have opted to pursue, but until such time as good a hard dose of reality sets in, there seems little point. I nonetheless hope and pray that you find genuine peace and happiness one day. I sincerely hope that you can overcome the demons of your emotional trauma and anger and finding comfortable balance in your life. Perhaps you should open up your eyes just a little bit wider and open up your mind too and look a little deeper. You might be surprised at what you might discover. But just stop with the nonsense of attacking your family. One last point you might be well advised to take on board here. Sir, you and your wife would be nothing and nobody were it not for the fact that you are the grandson of the Queen of England, the son, brother, and uncle of the future kings of England. And my friends, this is an open letter to Prince Harry and to his wife that I say puts a very great little bow on top of the things that I was speaking about earlier and the things that I have on my mind, and I'm sure the things that you have on your mind too. It's sad to see someone that has come from such privilege and such very unique circumstances to use a platform to disparage others and to do something so negative in order to make himself appear so grand. Because sometimes when you're a spoiled brat, you just don't know how to behave. You're just so used to getting your own way. But sometimes every now and then you need to have a smackdown. You need to have somebody who shows you, hey, you better take a step back. Take a step back and look at exactly what you are doing. Because at this point, who believes that what Harry is doing is okay? The only people that believe it is okay for Harry to do what he and his wife are doing are the people who seek to make money off of them, who need to hear from them, who need to have their voices in their platform, on their platform, so that they can make their money. But it is not okay for Prince Harry and his wife to throw their families off to the side as if they mean nothing. It is despicable. It is such a gross misrepresentation of something that I thought was starting to do better. This monarchy thing has its flaws, we know. But the fact is that they're constantly refining and honing and becoming better with time. And the things that this couple has done has only set this monarchy back to have to clean up behind this mess that they have made to try to keep walking in dignity and doing the good things that they are doing for the people, the country, and the millions of people who benefit from the charities that they try to bring a light to. It's so disheartening for me to see a woman of some color who is in the arts use her platform to do something so superficial, to build herself up in a way that seeks to get fame and glory, and to do all these so nonsensical things just because. It's like it doesn't make sense. And people need to stop coddling this couple to continue doing the things that they are doing. And I'm so grateful to the person of the UK that wrote this open letter to Prince Harry. I think it needs to be said. And I'm sure a lot of you know that Lady C has got a petition out that Prince Harry needs to get rid of his title. Because at this point, if you're going to talk so bad about your family, and if you think that having that title is something that's just bringing you just misery and it brought you heartache, well then just get rid of it and see how you fare then. See how you fare without it. Do something, you know, essentially saying, that's right. Thank you to the person that wrote this open letter to Prince Harry and of course his wife.